Never run out of battery again with the INIU portable charger, the slimmest 10,000 mAh power bank that keeps your devices charged on the go. Stay powered up wherever you go. Click the link in the video description to shop now on Amazon.
Welcome to another episode of Xiaomi Insider, where we dive into the latest EV market trends in China. Today, we're talking about some interesting numbers that came out just this week. So you might have seen some reports that EV sales were down in June compared to the previous week, but let's take a closer look at the numbers and see what's really going on here. For example, NIO was down 12% from last week, while Xiaomi saw a massive 44% drop. Tesla wasn't far behind either, with a decline of 34%. And BYD? They were down just 8%, which is actually a pretty positive sign. Now, let's talk about some key events that might have influenced these numbers. Did you know that the China Association of Automobile Manufacturers, or CAAM, recently recommended that automakers stop publishing weekly sales data? Apparently, they felt it was fueling vicious competition and undermining industry order. Since then, only a few companies have continued to share this information. One company that has stuck out is Li Auto, which still releases its own weekly EV registration numbers. But what's interesting is that many Chinese media outlets have followed CAAM's lead and stopped publishing their own weekly data altogether. That means we're mostly relying on data from companies like Li Auto to get an idea of the market trend. So let's take a look at some specific numbers. BYD registered 54,850 vehicles last week, which is down slightly from the previous week, but still a solid performance. Meanwhile, Xiaomi saw a huge drop in sales. 44% fewer units were sold compared to the week before. But it's worth noting that Xiaomi also had an amazing year-over-year increase of over 108%, with sales surging from 2,100 units to over 4,300 units. It looks like some companies are still doing really well, despite the slowdown in overall EV sales. For example, Leapmotor saw a surge in sales, with deliveries jumping by 148% compared to the same month last year. And Xpeng? They're also on fire, delivering 33,525 cars in May and representing 230% growth from the previous year. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What does all this mean for Xiaomi's future prospects? Well, while their sales numbers are certainly disappointing right now, we should keep an eye on how they're doing compared to some of their competitors. And who knows, maybe Xiaomi has a few tricks up its sleeve that will help them bounce back. That's all for today's episode of Xiaomi Insider. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next video.